So this is talking about potential obstacles or situationals that might come up in an ideas meeting towards the end, when we're setting expectations on the plan review. What's next?
I'm just going to grab one. So if a client says that they're waiting on a contractor, like it's between you and one other builder, or it's between you and 4 other builders, and sometimes they want to push out the plan review date and go off of our schedule, which always hurts, but then I'll usually take that date and say, would it help you to see a project in your area or a finished job that you could walk through? And almost always, in Chicago anyway, the clients really want to see it. And would you like to meet a homeowner that's lived with us in their home for 2 or 3 months? And they're like, wow, yeah, that would be great. So I use that time, and I think 80%, 75 or 80% of the time when I show a project to a client, that job moves forward.
Do you set that up in that meeting?
Oh yeah, right
So
there.
you've got clients that you go to?
Oh, I'll see when they're available, or I'll tell them I'll come. Sorry, I'll set up that we're going. The exact date, I'll have 2 or 3 that I know I can always show, but
Gotcha.
usually
I think if you set that date and time, you can generally find a homeowner that you can go in.
I usually will have so Thursdays and Fridays work best at this time. Let me see what I can do, and I'll get back to them. And that's a go.
What else on that conversation? What else do you guys do? I'm waiting for. Normally, they don't offer that they're going to want to move the meeting, right? So they're just going to say, "Well, we're meeting with some other folks, and we won't be ready." Or you'll know that they're meeting with other people, and they don't bring it up. What do you do there?
Call out usually. Like, I know you guys are talking to a few other people. Will you have the information that you need by the next meeting? They might say, I don't know. That's usually what it is. They don't have a date that they're going to get that information.
I think it's important to differentiate us, though, at this point, too, just whether you're bringing up the PM walk that's going to go through this, another set of eyes, or this detailed plan that you've shown them. Are they doing this level of detail for you? In a nice way, just poking holes in these other people so that it's in their ear to ask.
Well, I'm just asking, so what are those decision-making factors going to be then?
If it's budget or experience.
Right.
Or
So you need this extra information to compare what?
Will you ask them how they're feeling at this point, or do you care?
Well, I'll definitely ask if they've liked the process so far. If they like, you love the design, you like our process, definitely.
Yeah, that's what what they're using to make that decision kind of sparks that conversation. And then then you can lean on have you seen design from them? Okay. Is this the design that you love and want to go with? Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about that a little bit more. And we just really want to get the numbers back or whatnot and compare apples to apples.
Famous last words.
Right. Okay, well, there's really, the closest you're going to get is, comparing apples to beach balls, but...
Yeah, I think understanding those decision-making factors is key to know what other questions to ask. And that, there have been times where I've outright said, listen, if we're going to move forward to plan review, this meeting really is a formality. Again, we do put in a ton of, energy and work into this, so I want to make sure we're moving in the right direction. Are we?
Right.
I think that's really important. You ask that question then and make it clear how much work we're doing, for sure.
Do you have an inclination as to who you want to work with now?
Okay.
Well, obviously we want to work with you guys. So you get that most of the time, and you're like, okay, well, then this next meeting is just figuring out how we do it. Do you really need additional information, or because we can reschedule that meeting so you have all of your information. But my goal at that meeting is to really figure it out with you guys, and I'm on the team. We can do anything.
And this is where you really need to be confident in your commitment that you've given them, you know, and not be afraid to ask some of these more difficult questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they start to get really quiet and you're just not getting a lot from them, like I call that out. I'm like, you know, I'm sensing you guys have some hesitation. What are your hesitations? Not do you have hesitations?
Nope.
What are your hesitations?
Do not ask yes or no questions.
What are your concerns?
Right.
Yeah.
What are your biggest concerns at this point?
Yeah.
Because if they're quiet, then that's what it is. Like they're just.
Or sometimes if they're quiet, that's a cue to say, you know what, let me let you guys talk for just a couple of minutes. I have to go grab some water and stuff. I'll be back in just a minute.
Because when you do that, the power, I mean, that's why we use this a lot. We step out of the room because by doing that, they know that when you come back into the room, they have to tell you something.
You talked about something.
Yeah.
I like that. So does that segue into the too quiet discussion? If someone is not engaged?
Yeah, I think that is the too quiet.
Yeah.
You keep asking probing questions, so not yes or no questions, until you feel satisfied that you have the information that you need to make good decisions for them.
Agreed. So the financing one, you guys tell me if you agree, but if I have a client that is getting financing, or maybe it's going to be out further than the plan review, like they need 30 days to get approved on a home equity line of credit, for instance, I will soften the plan review, like we're just going to ask for a $2,500 retainer to reserve that start date. I've done it in the past. We just did it for the Solomon project where I told them I'd refund their money, but we can hold that start date if they didn't get their financing. But she was an anesthesiologist, and I had pretty good feeling that she was going to get approved for her loan, which she did, and we're building it right now. But that's where I still took the start date. I reserved the start date. I went in for selections and gave them the out if they wanted, if she didn't get approved. So that we were against other people, and I felt like it would have, if I didn't get it then I would have lost it.
Mm-hmm. Did you do that at plan review, or you set it up that way at your ideas meeting?
At the ideas meeting. If they didn't get their financing by then. It was like a soft, okay, if this, and she didn't have it at the plan review, but I said, well, I told you we would refund that if we didn't get it.
I will use a refundable deposit as a very last resort. I won't mention it at an ideas meeting. I wouldn't use it until plan review, and that would be in a very specific circumstance where they were, waiting. Like,
yeah.
Well, have you been pre-approved? Great.
So how would you handle financing then?
I ask more questions like, okay, how far are you in the process? Because I've had many jobs sell where they haven't had that totally completed, but they're far along enough in the process that they feel confident that they're going to get the money that they need. Yeah. But if people really aren't sure if they're, then we may need to push the plan review out a week so that they can feel comfortable. You just got to keep asking, where are you in the process? Do you feel like you're going to get the $70,000 that we talked about?
Right. Are you concerned that you're not going to be approved? Mm-hmm. Okay. Just keep gathering more.
Those are two options for financing. Mm-hmm. Let it ride, push out the plan review, or give them the out if they need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and you can, with asking more questions, you can, it's a $2,500 deposit. It's not, you're not making your first payment or anything. You don't have to have all of your financing in order. We need to have that by the time we have our pre-construction meeting. Do you feel like it would all be secured 2 months from now? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Great. Mm-hmm. Let's get you some miles in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. There you go. I like that.
When they haven't been open about budget, so when the budget is a concern, but they don't seem to be
wanting to talk
about it, or they're closed off about it. That's probably one that I struggle with.
What do you do?
I don't know. I haven't run into the situation.
I don't want to go to the plan review unless I have a verbal agreement on the range of where we're at. Mm-hmm. And as difficult as it might be, I'd much rather have it then than have it happen at the plan review.
Mm-hmm. I have said, I know last time you guys had mentioned whatever it is, $60,000 is what you were hoping for, but given the plans that we've landed on and the changes and stuff that we added today, we're probably sitting more in the 85. At our next meeting, when we come in at 85, what are we gonna do?
I would say 70 to 90. If you want to do 60 and we're going to do 70
I guess
to
I would
90.
probably put in a
And,
range.
but I would point out that there's going to be 20% in breakout options where you can drive that bus.
I point that out, but I like to ask them. Like, they made the decisions during that meeting to add wainscoting or LVT or whatever, so.
I mean, this is really then they're kind of too quiet again. They're not sharing enough. So I reiterate the fact, like, listen, I am just here to help you. I do not care how much you spend, how big your basement is, what time it starts, what time it finishes. I can only help you if you provide me with some information. So, what are you hesitating about in regard to budget? Where are you really comfortable?
Or
Again,
what really does
ask
work
again.
for your family.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's really, really good. You came across as the advocate to help me. You're not trying to sell me anything. That's a huge differentiation.
Well, and I'll mention too, you know, because going into our next meeting, going into noting, we do all of this detail so that we can, you know, have a really good discussion and we know where all of those, you know, where all of the money is going. But I want to go into it really smart. And if your priority is to get to 70, then please let me know now so that I can't guarantee that I can get it there, but I can provide you with all the options in the world to keep it exactly where you want to be.
And I reiterate, like, I am not just creative with design. I kind of love that part. I'm really creative with coming up with really great ideas so that you guys can still get the space you need, but feel comfortable with what you're spending, because I get it. It's a big project.
Yep.
I want to hear this one. I haven't had this in a little while, but how you guys handle don't make decisions like that. My wife and I made a commitment years ago that we will not make a decision. We'll sleep on it always.
Or I think that's kind of similar to, you know, we won't be ready to make a decision.
Right.
We need to see the numbers first. You know,
Right.
I think you have to address those the same way. I don't think you
Sure,
can assume
sure.
that just because that was part of their vows that, like, you know, this is our process, you know, so there's something else behind that.
Yeah.
That they're using that as a, you know, so I think again it's asking, what are your concerns?
Yeah.
I think I'm scared that you're going to hard sell me, and I just want to put up the wall right now so that you know where I'm at. So I soften that and say, you know, we're going to go through the high level of detail with your plans. We're going to show you everything that's included, all the code things, all of that. But what we're doing is talking about continuing to work together. I want to reserve your start date and go in for selections. That's it. I'm not holding your feet to the fire. How have you guys done it recently?
It's about, I think, just asking more questions and being quiet and letting them talk. And if you can get them to come to that on their own, that really there is nothing that we haven't talked about, you know, if you can do that and they can come to that conclusion on their own, that there's no reason that they shouldn't make a decision next time we meet.
Or that they will have come with a decision.
That they can actually, that same discussion that they would have after they see the price. You know, I've done this enough where I'm pretty confident that I can be in this $15,000 range with options to get you to this point. If you guys have that information now and you can talk about it tonight when you get home, what else
is there to make a
would you have?
decision?
Yeah, like,
I think that's the best way to do it. You're going to have 2 weeks from today or 1 week from today. I'm giving you my word that I'm going to be in the 70 to 90 range. You have plenty of time to talk about it.
Yeah. And know when to let go too, because sometimes people are still going to tell you that, and it's like they'll tell you that they want that they're only going to spend $50,000 on their basement, and they spend $120,000. Like, you don't take everything at face value. And know when to move on, and then readdress it at plan review. And they'll tell you again at the beginning of the meeting, and hopefully by the end they still give you a deposit.
Yeah, I think that's good.